Here is Marvel Select Apocalypse. Obviously, he fills the package pretty well. This is a very big action figure. And, you know, it's got some shots on the side there of the action figure. Pretty much all the shots that you see on Diamond Select's website of Apocalypse, they have those featured here on the box. And then there's some literature on the back that tells you about Apocalypse. It's got a nice little bio back there. And it also tells you who sculpted this, who designed it. Let's go ahead and open Apocalypse up and see what's up with this guy. I'm hoping that it's going to turn out to be as exciting as it is initially. Alright, this is my first Marvel Select, guys, so fingers crossed, you know. Fingers crossed. Alright, let's open them up. Alright. Well, that was actually remarkably easy to get open. Okay, yeah, that wasn't bad at all. Okay, we got all these ties here. Apocalypse has quite a lot of ties on them, and actually, we don't have to cut most of these. A lot of these are just like twist ties and stuff, and okay, so one of the ties kind of just came off of his arm a little bit in the package, which, you know, I'm not going to complain about. He's already got a lot of ties securing him. Now, this kind of takes me back a little bit to Marvel Legends by Toy Biz, where they would do all these kinds of ties like this and stuff. And, you know, you'd have to untwist everything, and, you know, your fingers would hurt real bad by the end of it. I'm not going to lie. Look at the quality of this. It's kind of blowing me away a little bit. I'm really hoping that he stacks up. Okay, we got that. Let's get his arms free, guys. Okay, so something I notice here about these ties is that they're actually really loose. They don't, like, strap him into the packaging, but they keep him secured. I kind of like that, because it gives you I don't know, it just makes it feel like he isn't being stressed out by the packaging itself. Okay, there he is. He's out of the package. And there he is, all of his glory, guys. Apocalypse. I still need to get all of his accessories out, but right now, things are looking good. I guess, just looking at the cables here, I can see what people mean by these being a little stiff. They could use a little bit more play. Show your mug to the people out there. Do a little pose for everyone. Everyone say hi to Apocalypse. Apocalypse, say hi to everyone out there across the internet. Oh yeah, okay, so there's the first of his extra appendages. We have the little drill right there. That's pretty sweet. And then we've got this little claw right here. Okay, that's easy enough to get out. Gotta say, getting this stuff out of the package is not hard. I like this. This is like the easiest time I've had opening a package in a while. He's got a lot of extra hands, guys. I'm kind of impressed by the number of accessories we're getting with this for 30 smackaroos. Okay, so first impression on Apocalypse here, guys. The head sculpt is really impressive. It has this snarling feature that feels like Apocalypse to me, the Apocalypse that I know and love from years and years prior. This looks like, to me, an Apocalypse that we would have seen in X Factor way back when. Looking at the action figure, it looks like his paint is very clean. I don't see anything that really sticks out. Well, actually, I see a couple of spots on his boots, maybe. There's a few spots here and there that are kind of not quite painted super cleanly. It's not really noticeable unless you really get up close and look at him, though. So, the paint overall, I would say, is pretty clean. Not too many mistakes. When we get to the rest of the sculpt here, I do like the variety of textures that we're seeing on this, because we see these ridged textures on his boots and his gloves, and as well as his body. And like I always tell you guys, on a sculpture like this, the variety of textures really adds a lot to the quality of the experience. And we also see that he's very accurate to his appearance from the comics. They're not taking really any liberties that stand out to me. And if there are liberties, it's not something that really leaps out to me and says, hey, they messed this up. I feel like this is a pretty good rendition. Let's go ahead and stick his tubes in his arms because, I mean, it's Apocalypse. When in Rome, guys. There it goes. Okay, Apocalypse looks a little bit more like himself now. You may want to be a little bit careful with his tubes because they are very stiff, and I'm kind of afraid that they will break if you move them around a little too much. That's just something that I would offer as a constructive criticism for Marvel Select in the future. If you do another Apocalypse like this, or you ever do Apocalypse again, or any other character really that uses tubes attached to the character like this, something a little bit more pliable would be more useful for him. Don't get me wrong, the tubes look cool pre-sculpted like this, but the lack of movement is not my favorite thing, I'll tell you. So, sculpt on him looks pretty good. Looks like he just stepped right off the pages of the comics. I'm absolutely loving that. The color choices that we're seeing on him are very subtle, but I love it too. We're seeing a variety of blues on him. We're seeing this gray standing right in the middle of, you know, his figure, and it really makes his face pop because it's just sitting there amidst all that blue. You got the navy blue on his head with that detail that's going forward. I don't know if we'd call that his hair, but it's on him. And then we got the middle blues over here across his shoulder pads and his chest and his legs too. You got the slightly darker blues. I guess you could call it like a, well, we'll just call it more of a midnight blue, I guess. And it's going down his sides and everything, and it's creating that contrast that makes the figure look so much more interesting. And I love the separation and sculpt that they're putting on this one. It just, I don't know, he's fascinating to look at. Let's test his articulation out and see how that fares, because, you know, it's an action figure. We gotta take a look at it. Waist swivel isn't offering me any resistance, and that's pretty nice. I like that one. Let's test his hips out. Okay, he can do like the splits, guys, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, he can kick his legs forward, move his leg back. Okay, he can't really move his legs back all that much, but he can kick his leg out completely forward just like that. Just in case you want to have him giving Cyclops the boot or something, or any other X-Man, or X-Factor in general. Do his knees move well? Okay, his knees move to about that far. His knees don't move super far. They have a knee swivel, and it works well enough. I mean, we can still do some stuff with him. It's offering me a little bit of resistance on that knee joint, but it's not too bad. The other knee joint is a little looser. That's actually really nice. I appreciate that. Let's check out his thigh swivel. How are those? Because, well, okay, this thigh is a little bit more troublesome. That thigh is a little stuck, guys. I'm probably going to have to take a hair dryer to that or some warm water as usual. He has an ankle joint that's somewhere between a DC Multiverse ankle joint and a Marvel Legends ankle joint, because he has like the Marvel Legends style ankle swivel right here. Here, let me get down in here so you guys can really get a look at this. He's got that Marvel Legends ankle swivel that moves like this, but then he's got the McFarlane style swivel that helps him turn his ankle from side to side like this. I just wish that this thigh swivel up here on this side were a little bit more, you know, bendy. I don't want to force it, because I've heard that Marvel Slick can be a little bit more fragile sometimes, so we're just going to leave it right to where it is for right now. Let's check out the rest of his upper body, guys. We know that the waist works fine. How does the torso rocker work? He doesn't move forward and back super far. He kind of can just move like this. He turns like this a lot better. He can move side to side, he can twist very easily. The torso rocker, the way it is, with the waist swivel, seems a little superfluous to me, because if he can already turn his torso super far like it is, I don't know that he really needs the waist swivel. With his torso rocker, it feels like it's a little bit like the DC Multiverse action figures, where it's kind of there, but also it doesn't do all that much. How do his arms do? Let's see here. Okay, so that twists pretty well. That moves out, and he does his T-pose. Does he do a T-pose? Yes, he does. He T-poses pretty well. I think that, okay, that's about as far as his arm spreads. That's pretty good. How's his bicep swivel do? That moves pretty reliably. It doesn't really seem like anything gets too much in the way. I think it can do like a 360-degree swivel. Yes, it can. I don't know if I want to do that too much, but it can do it. And, okay, so the swivel on that bicep works very well. And then we've got the elbow joint that only goes out to not even quite a 90-degree angle. So, yeah, I wish it went out a little further than that. Okay, that joint's a little stuck. Okay, but I got his arms bent, and that's what he looks like when he has his arms bent. Put him in a nice little pose here, like he's beckoning or something. The thing of this is that his cables are so stiff that once you try to get him in any kind of pose where his arms aren't at his side, they kind of have to detach, or else it really doesn't, it just doesn't work. Aside from his elbow joints, it looks like he's got a swivel here at his glove, and they both are pretty loose. they don't offer me any resistance at all. The one right here offers me a little bit more resistance than the one on the left. And let's see how his hands do. Come on. Come on, does he have his hand articulation? Let's see it. I see articulation there. It's got to do something. Come on. Come on, do something. All right, it's bending a little bit. It's bending. Okay, I probably don't want to push it, but... Okay, I think I understand what's happening here. He's got the articulation for it to move, but if you look at the inside of his glove right there, there's that little bend right there, and if you try to bend the hand in forward, this little ridge right here prevents his hand from moving forward any further. He can bend his hand back pretty easily, because there's nothing preventing him from doing so. But as soon as you try to do that, this stops him from moving any farther forward. Now let's check his head articulation. Looks pretty good. He can't really bend his head all that far back because he's got, you know, this big thing in his way, this collar here. Maybe if it was a little bit rubbery, it would be a little easier to work with. If it was a softer plastic, he might be able to move his head back a little further maybe. And then he can rock his head side to side really well. He can turn his head very easily. Now that we've gotten past all the articulation, let's see how his accessories look, because we gotta take a look at all these bad boys. I want you guys to take a look at these pieces, because very notably on these hands, there's no peg. And on the ball, there is a peg. And if you look at Apocalypse here, there's a peg that the hands go into. The majority of them. The open hands do, the beckoning ones. The fists have a peg on them. Both of them do. These do not. Check it out, guys. The gauntlet actually comes off. What? Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. What? That's why they have the little hole for the cable on them. Okay. Wow, we're learning things about Apocalypse, guys. So we could just outright take the gauntlets off, and now here's Apocalypse like this. So now that we have these peg holes, and there's the peg, okay, so now we put them on. All right, so we can put them on both arms, it looks like. Yeah, there's the claw right there. Let's put the drill on this one. Come on. Come on. Takes a little bit of muscle, but if you guys just put a little bit of muscle into it, you're gonna get it. Let me see if I can get these cables into these weapons. Alright, here's Apocalypse with both his drill attachment and his claw attachment. They both look awesome. They look really good on those pegs. The cables on his back have a little bit of play in them, so I can get the cables up to about the point where his arms are bent. Now, if I raise his arms any higher, it isn't gonna work as well, so there is that. Right now, though, I gotta say I'm really enjoying Apocalypse. We have one more weapon that we have to test out. I was about to tell you guys that now that I've got his gauntlets taken off, I don't remember which one goes on which arm. Marvel Select, Diamond Select, had the good sense to label them L and R. So, here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the L and R are in there on the inside of those gauntlets. They're clearly labeled, so you know which one is which. And that is a nice touch, I do have to say. I think one of the nice things about Apocalypse is that these pegs that we see on his arm are reasonably thick, so it shouldn't be too hard of a time getting his appendages, his extra hands on his arm like this. You still want to be a little bit careful because, you know, when you're playing around with pegs like this, there's always that tendency for the pegs to break, but as long as you use enough discretion putting them on, you should be okay. And we'll just slip this on. Bam! There it goes. And Apocalypse is looking good. Really not hard to get the gauntlets back on, I gotta say. Let's go ahead and put this ball on his right hand, and then we haven't played around with his left fist yet, so we'll put that in. Yeah. Here, let me put the cables back in. Bam! There they go. And let's see how this looks. There's some articulation on the ball on Apocalypse's arm. So let's see if that moves forward and back easily. Yes, it does. And it has some articulation here, but honestly, it twists at the wrist joint so easily that I don't know that you really need it. Another one of those things where it's superfluous articulation, even though it's nice to have. And can I get my... Okay, here's the test. Can I get his cable in over here? Okay, I got his cable in right here. One of the things that I was talking about with the articulation on Marvelicious Apocalypse was the lack of articulation when moving his fist in. And that holds true even on his fist hands, because on the open hands, you can't really move his fist inward all that much because of that little ridge right there. And if you see me try to apply pressure here, it doesn't do anything. Yeah, it moves even less than his beckoning hand, but you still get a little bit of articulation with the other side. Now let's see if we can move this up and get him all posed up. The cables really don't want to stay in there when I get him like posed up any further. So we'll just have to leave him like this, I think. Apocalypse has pretty good balance, guys. I'm noticing that a lot, is that Apocalypse, he really doesn't fall over much. Every pose that I get him in, he seems like he stabilizes really, really well. I think that if I were to give this Apocalypse a rating, guys, I think that I would rate him a B overall. Because there's a handful of things that I think are holding this one down that could be improved otherwise, even with the limitations that are imposed on Marvel Select. Specifically, the tubes on his back and that attach to his arms, those could use a little bit more pliability. And then there's also some of the articulation, like the torso rocker doesn't really bend forward and move back all that much. That could use a little bit of work too. And maybe some improvements to like little things that get in the way of the articulation, like his collar way up there. And then there's also the matter that, you know, I couldn't get his thigh swivel going, so I'm going to have to use some hot water or a hairdryer to get it going. But as it is, I do think that he's a pretty good action figure, and he's definitely worth checking out. And I have to say that I don't feel like I've wasted my money getting this guy. I feel like this is a pretty good experience, and I feel like, yeah, this is Apocalypse. Stepped right off the pages of the comics. I really enjoy him, and I recommend taking a look, guys.